This video will show you how to use Excel to make a frequency histogram. First, you're going to select the frequency data, then go to Insert, the bar graph, and we're going to choose the first one of a 2D bar graph. Now the issue here is that one, our axis labels are not the midpoints, or anything really having to do with the data, and two, that there are gaps and a frequency histogram does not have that. So we're going to fix this first. When you right-click on the numbers and go to Select Data, you can see the horizontal category labels have defaulted to the numbers 1 through 7. We will click Edit. It'll take us to this small one where we just select our numbers. And as soon as you select them, you can see that they have changed here on the graph. Click OK. OK, and we fixed that problem. For the other one, you need to right-click on one of the bars. When you right-click on a bar and go to Format Data Series, it pulls up a menu to the side, and you can change your gap width to a 0. Now our bars are touching. The last thing you may want to do to your graph is add axis labels. So we'll add one to the horizontal and to the vertical. We also need to label this. To help review later, I'm going to just call this a frequency histogram. This here is the frequency, or F, as we've called it. And this here is the price of a GPS, and that's in dollars. It's always good to include units if there's some relevant units. And so if you're asking how I knew this, these numbers came from an example that was done in class, and it's showing the frequency of the amount of GPSs within certain price ranges, which is what the histogram shows. Now that we've got the frequency histogram, I'm going to show you how to do the relative frequency histogram. First, we need to calculate the relative frequencies. In Excel, to calculate, you tell it that you want to do a calculation with an equal sign. Now that we have that equal sign, we're going to click on the frequency we have, because the relative frequency in this case is just 5 divided by the total number of GPSs, which is 30. So if you didn't know that already, you could get it by adding up all the frequencies, and they'll add to 30. And so I push enter, and it gives me that calculation. You could type in each one, or you can use the fill function from Excel. So there's two ways. One, if you notice, you've got this big fat white plus sign as a cursor. When you go over the dark box in the bottom right corner of a cell, it becomes a black cursor. That means it's switching from selecting to filling. So when you click and drag down, it's going to perform all of those calculations for you. Now, to make sure it's calculating what you think it is, I always encourage students to double click on a cell and see what formula it's doing. It's taking the number to the left of it and dividing by 30, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So that is a good indication that all of it is going correctly. Another way is, instead of clicking and holding, you can just double click while you have the plus sign, and the double click will autofill, and it's the same numbers as below. With this one, it guesses where to stop. Since this is the only information on this whole spreadsheet, it's accurate and likely to be correct where it stops. If it doesn't go far enough, then you can use the regular fill to keep going. If it goes too far, then you can just delete the things. All right, now that we have our relative frequencies, we're going to do the exact same thing as before. We're going to select them, go to Insert, Bar Graph, under Charts. We're going to choose the very first one. And we can see now on the vertical axis, the relative frequencies are there. We have the same two issues as before, so we're going to right-click, go to Format, wrong one, I apologize, right-click, and go to Select Data, Edit, choosing our midpoints, just the numbers, not the words, because it's treating these as labels, not as actual numbers. And it fills them in there. And then to get rid of the gaps, now we go to Format Data Series and get rid of those gaps. Again, you're going to want to add those chart labels. You can do them under Chart Design, Add Chart Element, or you can do them here and just click Axis Titles, and it puts both of them in for you. And so this one is just going to have the same labels as the other one of the price of a GPS in dollars. And then this one is relative frequency. And now we have two different types of frequency histograms.